Hi, I'm Sean, and welcome to Agni Arms. Today is going to be the first video in a series of videos where we're going to be restoring the Farmall 200. The inspiration for this project I got from Pete Larson over at Just a Few Acres and the wonderful series he did on restoring his Farmall C. Just like in his video, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the engine. Now, my tractor use is going to be a little bit different than his. He uses his tractors on his farm. He's baling with them, he's cutting hay, he's tedding hay, he's plowing. He's using the tractors for what they're intended to be used for. Mine, I don't have a farm. I live on 3.5 acres and I have grass. I mow grass with them. So my engines don't necessarily have to be performing at top level because they're basically on retirement duty. All they're going to be doing is turning a woods mower and cutting grass. Some of the A and the Cub push snow, but the 200 is never going to be pushing snow. But I still want to get an idea of where the motor is. And it seems like from looking on the outside, it's not leaking a lot. So I'm assuming the previous owner has done some work to it, but not sure. We're not going to go in and tear into the motor and take the head off and measure the rings and measure the bearings on the cams and everything like that. We're going to assume that wherever it's at, it's going to be fine for what we're using. All I'm going to do is do some dry and then wet pressure gauges measurements on the cylinder to just try to see where they're at, make sure they're all close, make sure there's one of them that maybe isn't, worse than the others, and just try to get a general overall idea on the health of the motor. And then after it's all painted, we're going to run it for a year or two and see how it does mowing. If at that time I see that I'm having some problems and the cylinder pressure numbers show that there's a problem, well, then I'll tear into the engine. So it's a little bit different process than what Pete's doing. And like he says, there's no right way or wrong way of doing things. I'm just not going to be doing a full engine rebuild on this because I'm pretty sure the motor is going to be fine for what I'm doing. So sit back and watch, and we're going to go through the steps and show you what all is involved in doing dry and wet pressure readings on your motor. So hope you enjoy it. Okay, the first thing you need to do when you're doing a pressure readings on your motor is you need to pull out the spark plugs. Now, for some of you, this may be, common sense information, but for others of you, this may be new. I know some of my students at school who are not familiar with tractors. They do watch my channel here. So we're going to go through the basics here. So please bear with me. So your cylinders are numbered 1 through 4. 1's here, 2, 3, and 4, okay? And when they fire in a specific order. If you look here on the engine block, it says 1, 3, 4, 2. So in the firing order, this will fire, then 3, then 4, then I'll come back to 2, and then 1 will fire again. So when we unplug these wires, it's important to make sure that you get them plugged back in the proper way. This is the distributor cap. This is what sends out the spark to the spark plugs. Well, number 1 is, if you're timed right and set up right, is going to be on your top right. So here is number 1. If you drop down below it, the next one on the firing order is number 3. Well, here is your number 3 plug. On the back here is 4, and then right here is number 2. Inside the distributor, the rotator spins clockwise, so it hits 1, 3, 4, 2, comes back to 1. The center plug here, this goes to your distributor, and that's what sends the spark out. We're going to unhook that, and then we're going to go through here, and we're going to pull the plug wires, okay? Now, our next step is we're going to go in, and we're going to loosen and remove the spark plugs, okay? So when we do that here, I've already pre-loosened these to make it a little easier since I'm videotaping with one hand for this part. So we remove the plug. We're using a standard 7/8 inch socket here, which will pull the plug. So we're going to look here at the plug, and you'll see there is a lot of black carbon on here. chances are with that distillate carburetor, it's running rich. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull, let's go ahead and we'll pull the other plugs. See what plug number 2 looks like. Okay, you're seeing not quite as black on the tip, a little more brown. But still a lot of carbon on here. From when I've started it a couple times here, I have not heated up the motor, so that could be due to me also. This plug's looking, there's a lot of carbon on it, looking a lot more like plug number 1. And then we're going to pull out here plug number 4 and see what it looks like. If I hadn't loosened these, I'd be using my socket wrench and having to put a little bit of force into it to loosen it up. And here you look at it, a little more brown on here. This one looks a little bit more like plug number 2, definitely the best of both of them. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to install our pressure tester. And what this is you have the end here that will go into the sockets, and then you have a gauge here. And we're going to crank the motor with the starter about 4 times, and it's going to give us a reading, and then we're going to write that down. We'll release the pressure, we'll go through, we'll write down, and we'll do all the cylinders here dry, and then we'll come back and do it wet. Okay, we're back here. We have everything opened up. We're going to crank the starter, let it hit about 4 times, and then see what the reading is. So here's number 1 cylinder. Okay, so let's see what we got. A little north of 150. We'll call that 151. So we'll release the pressure, and we'll unscrew it. Thanks to the tractor Zen Master, Gary Hummel, for allowing me to use his pressure tester. If you have an old tractor and you need it fixed, contact Gary Hummel. He can get it running for you. Okay, here we go. Pressure test on cylinder number 2. Okay, this one's a little lower. This one is at 130. Wow, that's interesting. Let's make sure we got it screwed in here tight. We're going to give that one another go here, just to make sure it's not on our end. So here we go. Also, we're going to turn the fuel off. Here we go. Okay. So that did help a little bit. We are definitely at 130. So we'll write that down. Release the pressure. Okay, we're back ready on the cylinder number 3 here. Okay, look at that. That's a real strong one. That's 155. So write that down. Okay, and here we go on number 4. And this one is good also, 150. So write that down. So looking at them, the health of the cylinders, they say 10%. And so that would be, let's say 15. Well, 15 more than that's 145. So there is something going on with number 2 here, but not sure what it is and not too concerned about it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the wet test. We're going to go into each cylinder, basically put 2 squirts of oil, and then we're going to take the pressure reading and see what they are. Okay, so look at that one. Wet, we had like 161. Okay, now we're going to do cylinder number 2. This had a reading of 130 dry. Okay, wet, 140. Okay, now we're ready for cylinder number 3. We're doing the wet. That one is a lot higher. That was 170, looks like. And the last one, number 4 on the wet compression. And we got a value of 160. Okay, so let's look at the numbers here, what we got going on. First off, looking through the research, if this motor had flat pistons and was healthy, I should have seen dry compressions readings of about 110 to 120. You'll notice even number 2 is lower, but the others are in the 150. This goes back to what I was suspecting. The previous owner did rebuild this motor, and he's put the fire crater or dome pistons in it from the Farmall 130. So I'm going to be putting out about 26 horse, which might make sense why he put that distillate carb on there, is because he wanted to get it more fuel. You look at the wet readings there, they're about 10 higher, which should be expected. Number 3 was way higher, but they're all by about 15, but they're all good there. Number 2 looks like it has some problems. Now, one of the things I'm going to go, and I might do next, once I start removing stuff, is I might just check the valves on here just to make sure they're okay. Number 2 might have a tight valve on it, but regardless, we're going to roll with this. Everything is reasonably good, and basically this is why I wanted to do it, to try to figure out, was this motor rebuilt, and if so, what pistons are in there, and we were able to figure that out. Okay, so as we said there, the pressure numbers were able to identify what pistons we got in the motor. Previous owner rebuilt these with the dome pistons. So basically I have a Farmall 200 with Farmall 230 pistons in it, which is a good thing. In the video I didn't really mention it, but the 240, when they went up to the 31 horsepower, what they did was they jacked the RPMs up from 1800, because it was at 1850 for the 200. They dropped it down to 1800 with the 230, but with the higher compression, you got about 2 more horsepower to 26. Well, with the 240, they jacked the high idle RPM up to 2000 and got 31 horsepower. Now, if I'm doing that, I got to make sure that my cooling system, the radiator is working fine, and I got enough air going and stuff like that. And to mow grass, I'm not sure I really need 31 horsepower in a little tractor, but it's good to know I got a fairly healthy motor here. Next steps are going to be, we're going to start the process of fixing things. Probably the next step will be taken off the distributor. It currently has the points and condensers in it. We're going to pull those out and convert it over to electronic. But as you're looking at it, we're going to see what the health of the actual distributor is. Is the gear a little worn? Is there a wobble in the shaft? We got a rebuild kit that we can put in there to tighten all that up. Want to make sure there's probably going to be a lot of gunk and dirt and crud in there. So we want to make sure that's all cleaned out so the weights the advanced weights can move and everything works in there properly. And then we're going to clean it up and we're going to paint it, because eventually this whole tractor is going to be painted. So since we're pulling it off to put in the electronics, we might as well just go ahead and, get that part all done. So when we're doing the tractor, we're good to go. And then from there, since we'll have the electronic ignition in, we'll probably put the new plugs in, put the bigger coil on there, and we'll go ahead, we'll get the tractor tuned up, so hopefully it starts a little easier, and get it all tuned up right, and get it running how I want it to, and then maybe we'll go in, we'll check the valve lash and stuff later. Those are all videos down there, but so far, first inspection, I'm pretty happy with what I'm finding. So thank you for watching this episode of Agni Arms and the first step, the Farmall 200 restoration. And there'll be more videos coming to you here as we proceed farther in this project. Have a great day. Bye.